Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank the people over on Patreon who have taken the time out to help support the channel, and just got to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Once I start offering memberships and figure out what to offer for memberships on this channel, I'll start adding the names of YouTube members as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys the review for Boruto chapter 51. Press F in the chat for Naruto Uzumaki. God dog, man. God dog, I knew about the spoilers. But damn, dude, this is one of those times where when you actually read the chapter and you get the full context leading up to the actual moment in the manga, you're just not prepared for it, man. This chapter, I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, I like this chapter simply for the fact that it had a lot of lore information. And you know, now we have full context on why the Otsutsuki move in pairs, so that's gonna be something very interesting to talk about. But you know, all you guys are mainly here because of, hey, like, Naruto made the sacrifice, and I gotta say the setup for this is beautiful, and this is one of those times where you really cannot turn back. Because Kurama, can we talk about Kurama's character development continuing to grow? Because Kurama looks over at Naruto when they're talking, he says, man, so you're really willing to throw your life away, aren't you? And it's because Naruto hears everything. He hears how Isshiki's telling Boruto, I'm gonna feed you to the Ten Tails. You know, you're gonna make for a much better sacrifice. It ain't a matter of if you're going to die, it's just a matter of when. I'm actually doing you a favor, killing you before anybody else. And for Naruto, those protective instincts, they come into play at this point. And Naruto just comes rushing in, and you see the desperation drawn on his face, which was very remarkable to see. Again, Ikimoto is slowing these scenes down and capturing the stuff in real time, and I really appreciate this, because this is not one of those times where you just speed through the actual panels to say, okay, I'm done with the page limit for the chapter. This is one of those times where you milk it and get the most out of it. And what I like here is the fact that, you know, you have this moment where Kurama looks at Naruto and he says, this is one of those jutsu where if you tap into this power, if I give you access to it, it is going to come at the expense of your life. This is a do or die, last stand type situation. Are you really ready for this? And Naruto has one of the most beautiful lines ever. Naruto says, I'm the Hokage. I've been ready for this my entire life since I said I was gonna be Hokage. Naruto comes in, delivers one hell of a sweeping kick to Isshiki, basically saying, get away from my son. And what I love about this moment right here is that you see the tender moment where Naruto is cradling his son Boruto, and because we know Naruto's getting ready to sacrifice himself, it holds even more significance. It holds a lot more significance, because that's Naruto potentially holding his firstborn child for the last time. And if you guys have seen my after Naruto Shippuden videos, you guys are aware of what I've said on a few different occasions. Naruto does not really fully begin to mature until Boruto's born. So to see Naruto come full circle like this is so heartbreaking. And you just have that moment where Ikimoto, again, he slowed down the scene a bit, and you see Naruto go from cradling his son to actually setting him down and then turning to face Isshiki. This was beautiful. This was so beautiful. And then you got that moment where Boruto's looking at Naruto saying, Dad, you have to run away. If you don't, he's gonna kill you. And Isshiki's like, look, you know, you should listen to your son. If you tell me where I can find Kawaki, I might be inclined to let you live. And then he just tacks on for further measure for now, because at the end of the day, everybody's gonna die if he gets his wish. And you have this moment where Naruto continues to look at Boruto. His back is turned, and then Naruto undergoes the transformation, and it's really something to see, where you see the Kyuubi molding chakra. You see this huge gust of chakra just spouting all over the place. You see what looks like a whole bunch of nine tails just sprouting all around Naruto. Naruto's in a new chakra cloak, and Naruto has a very animalistic type expression on his face, and he's taking on some of those fox type features. And what I love in this moment is that even Sasuke's looking at it and he's like, is this really Naruto? And Isshiki freaks out. Isshiki looks at Naruto and says, what's going on with this chakra? So this is one of those moments where, you know, you look at it and you realize Naruto has tapped into a freakishly high high level of power. And because Naruto and Sasuke have done so poorly against Isshiki in the past, I think that this is one of those times where Kurama is looking over at Isshiki. He's been able to gauge what Isshiki can do in his current state, and he would not make this sacrifice and give Naruto this ability to use this type of a power if he did not think it was enough to bring down Isshiki. I think that it's going to be very close. I think it's very close because Kurama can misjudge the ability of his opponent, but he's at least given Naruto a fighting chance. And the reason why I say this is character development for Kurama, because we saw it towards the end of the Naruto manga where Kurama began to turn into a Naruto fanboy and cheerleading for him. But what I've always said, and I'm glad that Ikimoto and Kodachi are giving this to us, is I've always said that in a way, the QB was just a parent that was giving Naruto a dose of tough love. You know, some parents, you know, they dote on you and everything, and others just hard as hell on you. And, you know, for this moment right here, I feel like the QB was just looking at Naruto and saying, like, I really don't want to give you access to this, but, you know, you're going to throw your life away anyway. It's irresponsible of me not to give you every chance to make sure your death is not in vain. And that's character development right there. You know, Kurama's just really a big softie, man. Like, I love this scene right here. This is one of those times where, you know, again, I feel like when the anime gets this, and I actually talked about this in one of the spoiler videos you guys have not seen yet, but when the anime gets this needs to be a moment where they don't give us an opening. They don't give us an opening for the episode. They just dive right into it, and then you play the opening music when Naruto gets ready to transform, or you play the closing song as Naruto transforms, and you just go into a prolonged extended outro, kind of like what happened with Full Metal Alchemist when I think it was when it was Alphonse that was fighting, and I can't remember who he was fighting against, but they played the outro at the end of it. I feel like this needs to be one of those moments right here where you just heighten the suspense by just jumping into the music like that. I think that that's something that could very well add more emotional impact once the anime gets it. It's one of those few times where I think the anime is going to do a much better job than the manga, because, you know, even though this was a badass shot, you know, this, and you guys know I talk about this a lot, this is one of those times where this needed to be a double page spread where you see the full range of the chakra that Naruto is kind of unleashing, and then on the bottom panels of the page you actually see how Sasuke has that reaction saying, is this Naruto, and then Isshiki's reacting, and then Boruto reacts, and then you close out the chapter with Naruto in that transformed state. That's a small critique, but, you know, at this point, you know, the day that Ikimoto does something beyond his normal squares and triangles and actually gives us a double page shot, that'll be the day that I probably explode from happiness. That's one of those things, and I get it, you know, the guy said in the past before he struggles with deadlines. I like that they built towards this moment though. This is one of those times where the payoff was very much justified. Now, when it comes to the extra information that we have with the Otsutsuki clan, this is good. This is very, very good, where you have it where Boruto's looking over at Sasuke at the beginning of the chapter, and Boruto says, like, hey, I knew from the moment that he hesitated that he wasn't going to be able to kill me, and it makes all the sense now, because when we were fighting that inner member, so he's referring to Boro, when he says when we were fighting that inner member, you know, he said that the timetable was sped up and that he was thankful to me, and I didn't understand what he meant now, but now I understand. And you have this moment where before Boruto reveals all that, you know, Sasuke's like, hey, we already know that you have plans for a divine tree, and at this point it's only really Boruto and Isshiki who have an idea, but Isshiki isn't one to tip his hand all the way, and so he basically does a shit test on Boruto, and he says, like, hey, you know, what exactly makes you think I won't kill you? And, you know, it's a bluff, and Boruto effectively calls it. I thought that was nice. Again, that's showing some growth in Boruto's character, and what I like here is how, you know, as Boruto's saying this, you know, Ikimoto takes the time to flash over the panels to Amado, and Amado is explaining everything, and he says, like, hey, you know, because Kaguya was lower down the ranking than Isshiki, the plan was always for Kaguya to sacrifice herself, and the way that the Otsutsuki do this, and the whole reason for their karma seal, is that they move in pairs. One sacrifices themselves to be eaten by the 10 tails, that way they can sprout a divine tree, and then the one that that sacrifices themselves because they've already placed karma on another vessel, they themselves are able to reincarnate themselves into this new body. And I'm assuming both of them eat the chakra fruit as it comes out. And so this kind of makes me wonder a couple of things. Why would they do that when they could just put karma on somebody and allow that vessel to essentially become a fully fledged Otsutsuki and then feed them? Like, why? I'm guessing because it takes a pretty long period in time, and so maybe that's the case. But with the way that karma works in general, once you put the karma seal on somebody, they have to allow the time that goes by for their DNA to be completely overridden. So it's one of those things where I think that maybe Kodachi got a little too cute with his writing, but you know, because this is a monthly manga and because they give us the information very slowly over time, I'm assuming that's something that's gonna be addressed. Either that or maybe there's something I'm missing, but I'm assuming that's something that is gonna be addressed. But what I will say here is that I like how Amado just takes that time out and he says like, hey, you know, the real beauty and the real irony of this situation is that, you know, Kaguya managed to turn traitor, but Isshiki was able to still develop Jigen, and the whole idea was for Isshiki to feed himself to the Ten Tails, and then after he feeds himself to the Ten Tails, he was going to reincarnate. And what I like in this moment here is that you see the full reason for why Jigen was actually necessary. And I'm gonna bring up the full quote here because this is so damn interesting. Because you know, Sumiri, she puts everything together and she says like, look, you know, the Otsutsuki, you can't tell me that Isshiki plans to use Boruto instead of himself as a sacrifice to the Ten Tails. And it makes sense. Again, you know, you have that moment where Isshiki, as he's talking through Jigen's body, and I think chapter 43 says that Boruto and Kawaki will become perfect Otsutsuki and they will help me harvest this new divine tree. So now we know exactly what he planned for in that moment. And so what I like here is how like Amado says that Kara originally planned to have Jigen be the sacrifice since there was no other choice, but Boruto appeared and it led to a change of plan. A young, healthy Otsutsuki would make a better substance than a decrepit one whose death is approaching, obviously. So what I like here is that, again, now we have full reason for why Jigen's body was so damn important. Now we have the full reason for why Jigen was so important to Isshiki. It was more than just him being the vessel for karma, because the moment that he had Kawaki, that's when everything was planned. Jigen was going to be the sacrifice. He was going to be fed to the Ten Tails. Isshiki would end up having to reincarnate inside of Kawaki via the karma seal, and Kawaki would be the perfect vessel, a young vessel. So I like this right here, and I like how, you know, they address another small thing. They say that there are different variations of what you actually see with the chakra fruit, just like apples and oranges are different forms of fruit. So that's interesting. I think that kind of ties back into what Amado said, which is the Ten Tails that you saw before isn't the same Ten Tails that we have now. So they're starting to add some differences what the different Ten Tails that we have in that species are. So that's interesting. You see that bit right there. Now, what I will say is that when it comes to Boruto, I thought it was pretty interesting that Boruto has that moment where he looks over at Isshiki and says, I know you can't kill me. If you take another step towards my teacher, I'll absolutely kill myself. And you get this very good scene where Boruto pulls out the kunai and you see him kind of rustling. And I thought that, again, that was nice. Ikimoto kind of at least drew the line so we see the actual movement of Boruto retrieving the kunai. And you have it where Boruto takes the kunai and he's going to, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to take the kunai and plunge into his throat. But Boruto hesitates and starts talking. And Sasuke has the right mind. He says like, look, you can't threaten a guy like this. And that's Sasuke in so many words saying, if you were going to do something like this, you should have just went ahead and just stabbed yourself where you had a chance to react. Because Isshiki sees it and he streaks the kunai, and then he proceeds to break Boruto's arm. After Boruto tries to use the Rasengan, he shrinks the Rasengan as well, and he breaks Boruto's arm, and he says like, look dude, I have no problem of harming you. I can't kill you, but I'll harm you. And I like how Sasuke begins to speak. When Isshiki shows up in that area, Isshiki, he don't just put his foot to Sasuke's face, he puts his foot to Sasuke's throat. Oh, that's about as brutal as when Pain crushed Jiraiya's throat. Like, I love how when this happens, Isshiki hits Sasuke with so much force that they're on top of a cliff, okay? To give you an idea, they're on top of a cliff. Isshiki hits Sasuke so hard that the portion of the cliff that Sasuke's on crumbles and Sasuke falls into a crater underneath there. So Isshiki knocked the fuck out of Sasuke. So that was pretty badass to see a scene like that, man. That was pretty badass. And so when you get to this other part of the chapter right here, where as all this is going on, Amado looks over at Kawaki, and Kawaki's just going off on Kawaki, saying like, look, I can't believe that you would actually sacrifice Boruto in this way, and I can't believe that, you know, it looks like everything is going according to plan for you, and how can you be so calm? And Amado says some straight G shit. Amado looks at him and says, like, look, man, you know, this is why this is mad funny right here, because you're in a situation where you can make all the contingency plans and you can plan everything out, but I make the best decision for myself based on the circumstances in front of me, and sometimes you just have to let the chips fall where they do. And you get this moment where, you know, Amado's looking at Kawaki saying, you ain't gonna split my wig, you might as well sit down somewhere. And he basically tells Kawaki, like, look, man, you know, the Hokage and company, there's a small chance they can win, but it's still a small chance nonetheless, and it was our best play. The only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna smoke, and by the time I finish my cigarette, maybe this fight's gonna be over. If we live, awesome. If we don't, awesome as well. You can't get too upset because you losing that karma seal, that gave us the best opportunity to actually kill Isshiki. And Sasuke even says it himself, where he says, this guy's lifespan is almost done for, we just need to wait it out. So Sasuke understands the same thing I did, which is before Naruto transformed, they didn't have a way to actually kill Isshiki, and so they just needed to try and survive long enough. So I thought that that was very, very calculated on Amado's part, and he makes a very good observation of Kawaki, which is he looks over at Kawaki as Kawaki is just shaking from being helpless, and he says, are you upset because of the fact that you're so powerless, or are you upset over the fact that you lost the karma? And I like that that was dropped in there, because I did say during the last chapter, either during the review or during the discussions, I said like, hey, I think that the way that the karma seal is going to work is that this karma seal is going to be a lot like a symbiotic relationship where, you know, after a while somebody's not going to be able to function without it. And for Kawaki, that karma seal was very much part of his identity. So I definitely think that they're setting the stage up for Kawaki to willingly take the karma seal back, whether it be Kawaki doing so to save everybody like I've said for a long time now, or whether it be because Kawaki has an innate desire, a need to have the karma seal. But, you know, Kawaki looks like he's a junkie looking for his fix right now. And so I like how you're seeing the conflicting emotions in Kawaki at this point. So overall, I thought this was good, man. You know, looks like next chapter is going to be a bit of a brawler chapter. I'm going to stand by what I'm saying. They're going to milk this fight until we get to Jump Fiesta in December. I think that that's what's going to happen, because you can have some type of a cliffhanger on the chapter that takes place in December, and then towards the end of December where they have Jump Fiesta, they can reveal some new information and tease some new stuff that's coming up. You know, the chapters themselves get drawn in a timely manner, but a lot of the times the way these mangaka work is they're already planning out the next arc and the next set of chapters. So that's gonna be interesting to see what Kodachi and what Ikimoto and Kishimoto are able to work up. Kishimoto being one of the editors, Kodachi being the actual writer, and Ikimoto being the artist. It's gonna be very interesting to see where this story takes a turn from here. So my chapter question to you guys is, now that we have the full context about why Kaguya betrayed the Otsutsuki clan, and now we have the full context going around Naruto's new transformation, do you guys think that this is the proper way to send off Naruto? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.